Considered the only elite endurance race born from a feature film, the Shaw and Partners Coolangatta Gold has gone on to become one of the most iconic and celebrated races of its kind anywhere in the world. Featuring some of the fittest athletes on the planet, competitors will take on a 23-kilometre ski paddle, a 3.5-kilometre swim, a 6-kilometre board paddle, and if they're still standing, an 8-kilometre beach run to the finish.
4.5 hours of absolute torture.
It's a true test of grit and strength. There's absolutely nowhere to hide.
Staged in the magnificent setting of Queensland's Gold Coast, the epic race is a test of skill and stamina, where only the brave reign supreme.
Doesn't get any harder than this.
There's nothing easy about it at all.
In the men's race, everyone is looking to bring down 7-times champion Ali Day.
He's the best this race has seen.
We got to do something to get him. I just want to get as close as I can to perfecting that race.
While the women's field has never been more wide open.
Every time you get to put your foot on the line, it's a pretty special moment.
You go to another level in this race.
Get ready for the ultimate test of human endeavour as the best of the best take on one of the toughest multi-skilled races on the planet. Racing for glory in the prestigious Shaw and Partners Coolangatta Gold. Located in the magnificent setting of Queensland's picturesque Gold Coast, Coolangatta is situated along the east coast of Australia. From food and wine, festivals, art, culture and music, to sporting and lifestyle, Queensland is home to a variety of world-class events. Ever since the inaugural race back in 1984, the Coolangatta Gold has gone on to become a world-class sporting event, with the 42-kilometre endurance race now considered the holy grail of surf sports. This year's men's race features an exceptional field with 30 starters, headed by 7-times champion Ali Day, who's taken ownership of the race in recent years. The women's race features a small but strong field, headed by 4-times race winner Courtney Hancock, but she'll have her hands full with any number of other athletes in contention.
The Coolangatta Gold is so special because it is so iconic. It's old. You look back to the movie in '84 with Guy Leach and hundreds of thousands of people, racing from Surfers Paradise.
Grew up watching it on TV, the movie, and the brothers fighting it out. And
I think just the years of history that it's had and the amount of success that it's produced and just how iconic the event is, I think that has really created something special in surf lifesaving.
It is probably the most iconic surf sports race there is, and to be out here and racing it as a Kiwi is pretty awesome.
This is sort of the epicenter of surf sports, and it's where everyone moves to be a great clubby, so it's pretty special to have this race going along the foreshore of this iconic place.
I love the Gold Coast. It's an amazing spot to be, to train, and the lifestyle we have here as an Ironman.
Having it here, it's pretty special, and I know the Gold Coast community love to get behind it, which makes it an even bigger moment for us.
It's a really tough race. It really is. It's tough just getting to the start line. You got to do a lot of work, obviously, to get your foot on the start line. A lot can go wrong in the preparation as well. So again, you've got to have good people around you, good support, good coaches, and I'm lucky to have that. This is 42 kilometres over 4 hours. That's, in any sport, that's pretty unheard of.
It's certainly a tough race to win, and I think everyone that has won it has definitely proven themselves, because you can't win this race by luck.
I think it's grueling. You're not just racing other athletes, you're racing the actual race itself.
Obviously, we got quite a bit of experience this year, and Courtney and Lana have both won it. Courts has won it 4 times, I think. So in terms of experience, it's going to be hard to match them. So just sort of starting the race and see where I'm at, and hopefully I can sort of stay with them for the first few.
I'm really confident with the work that we've done, and I just want to get as close as I can to perfecting that race.
Toppling Ali, the peak of his form, is the best this race has seen. So to take him is the ultimate goal and challenge. So to be an awesome day, and I think it's definitely possible.
It's not just Ali's race. He's won it a few times. I think it's 6 or 7 now, but everything can change in a heartbeat.
Ali's got everything. He's got the work ethic, he's got the talent, he's got kind of the killer mindset to just stay focused and drilled in on what he's doing at all times, and he's definitely the one to beat.
Yeah, he's been the standard for past however many years.
I don't know if anyone will get him, but we'll sure as hell give it a crack, eh?
It's a very deep, talented field this year, and a really tactical race will probably follow on Sunday, and You just never know.
Really excited to see how far I can push myself. It's definitely going to be a lot of tactics going into this, but hopefully come out with a good result at the end of the day.
It's going to be a pretty grueling day out there. It's going to be hot and it's going to be really fast competition. Probably one of the most competitive fields, I reckon, in the last 10 years.
Forward to getting on the start line and hoping to execute the plan that I have. Whether that eventuates or not, we'll have to wait and see.
Again, it's another year stronger, so we'll see what happens.
To win the Coolangatta Gold would be amazing. It's the only one my dad didn't win, so it'd be pretty cool to win it myself.
To get the win would be unbelievable, and as you said, be a giant slayer and take down Ellie.
Starting in Coolangatta, the competitors begin with a grueling 23-kilometre ski paddle, the longest leg of the race, followed by a 1-kilometre beach sprint. Then it's back into the water for a 3.5-kilometre ocean swim. The final water leg is a 6.1-kilometre board paddle, before it's back to transition for the final leg, an exhausting 8.2-kilometre run along the sand to the finish. With the start just minutes away, the stage is set for a dramatic day of racing, with plenty of nervous energy on the beach in anticipation of the long road ahead.
For the race, probably the extra pressure, I wouldn't say it got to me, but I knew what was going on, and I'm like, I need to nail this start to set myself up for the later part of the race. And
I knew it was going to be kind of red hot off the start into those runs, and where the pace is going to be on.
I definitely feel a little bit of pressure, but as they say, pressure is privilege.
Yeah, just say to myself, let's get down the beach, have a good warm-up and get the ski started and get into that process. I'm very task-driven, so I was just trying to focus on that rather than focusing on what other people were thinking about me.
I was pretty excited, to be honest, because I'd never done it before and I was kind of going in as the underdog. It was probably just more exciting than anything.
I was a little bit nervous. The butterflies are definitely kicking in. I didn't finish this race last year due to dehydration, so I was just a bit nervous.
Sunday you're going to wake up and there's a lot to organise to get here, and you know that you're going to be in a lot of pain for about 4.5 hours. But this year I was just really excited and really keen to just get started.
I felt super nervous. I've been pretty anxious all week. I think I just wanted to be up there and fighting. That was the main goal.
Finally, the gun goes for the men's start, with 30 paddlers in a mad scramble to exit the beach cleanly. At 23 kilometres long, the ski paddle will be the longest leg of the race. As if to make a statement, Day sprints out of the blocks and is into an early lead, with close rival Matt Bevilacqua in close pursuit.
Yeah, I had a great start. I got to the can, up there with the front runners with I think Bevy and Porgy was right next to me as well.
The gun got a really nice start, was up there and feeling really good, runners are kind of my strength, so put the foot down and probably spent a few too many cookies in that first 10 minutes or so.
I knew I was going to get on quick and try and get to the front, try and dictate a bit of pace. Jumped straight in. I was a little bit high on my ski and I kind of just got into my boat, but got through that part and then kind of messed it up. A little bit of boat wash kind of bounced me off and I ended up 5 minutes behind the wash and I was freaking out trying to catch up.
I just knew that I had to go because I knew that the boys wanted to put on the pace from the get-go.
And it was red hot off the start, it always is, and you kind of expect that from the Gold nowadays.
With the men now tracking north, it was time for the women's race start. As luck would have it, a set of waves hits the shoreline just as the gun goes, with a number of competitors stalled by the broken water. While some make a clean exit, others are sent backpedaling by a wall of white water. Given the enormity of the challenge ahead, it's not an ideal way to start.
The gun went off pretty much straight away. I thought it'd be a bit more of a race. I was kind of okay, we're on, and had a really good start and I felt really good.
It was all a bit quick, to be honest, which is probably a good thing because I didn't have time to get too anxious or stressed. It all just went really quickly.
Just trying to get through the shorey and get out to the first can as quick as possible and then try and settle with the girls.
And I was lacking a little bit of confidence. I was just focused on getting a clean start off that ski leg and that shore dump. Managed to do that and we got away quite clean.
Didn't have a great start, but we were going and everyone kind of merged together.
I knew I just had to get a really good start because the girls, they're really fast off the line. That's exactly what I did. I was first to the can and I'm really happy with that.
To be able to finally have a go and have a crack at racing the girls that I've watched win it so many times is absolutely amazing.
With the girls in a tight bunch and settling into a rhythm, the men's race continues at a frenetic pace, with everyone trying to stay in touch with Ali Day, who sets the early pace.
Yeah, the pace was hectic off the start, practically like a 500 metre ski race, which I was prepared for. I knew it was going to happen, but it's one thing being prepared mentally and physically having to do it. And so it hurt a bit, but I was able to stay with the group and I was really happy with it. I was able to take a few leads here and there, but I also was trying to be conservative in that it's a 42-kilometre race. I didn't want to use all my bickies at the start.
Really hurts towards the back end. It's an incredibly top half heavy leg, and you want to be really efficient, focusing on your technique, catching those runners where they are.
It was still pretty calm out there, but the wind wasn't really up that much, so we got some good little bumps the whole way down, but I felt like the bumps the first probably 4 or 5K were the best.
Ski paddle's the longest leg of the race, so going into it I do think of it as almost a ski paddler's race. If you can get a gap or hurt people a lot in that, then it's really hard to come back in the shorter legs. Ski's 23K, all the rest is only 20, so. My goal was sit on the wash, make sure I get into that spot, and I missed the wash, and then the main goal was for me and Jared McDonald to paddle our way back into it and hopefully get in with them on the swim.
I know my pacing really well. It was just really important to just go to my level. You don't want to go too hard too soon, you want to sort of build into it.
The strategy was to, be in the front pack. I knew that lots of younger kids are maybe not as strong in the ski, so we wanted to get rid of those guys, and so that happened, but I was definitely not feeling great, so just was trying to hang with Borgie and Ali, who were looking really strong.
My plan was to stick with Ali with the ski leg. He's super experienced, he knows what he's doing. I do think of my ski leg as a strong leg, so I was confident that I'd be able to stay with him.
We're moving so fast as well, the sport's changed and we're not just slowly going. It's like we're really having a red hot crack, and sometimes I feel like because you're in such momentum and you're flowing, it's like we're almost paddling faster than we are in some of the short course races.
The pace is definitely what I expected into those runs. We're going 4-minute 20Ks downwind, basically. There's not a whole lot of push there, but those little residual runners were quite good. So yeah, the pace was on, and Ali was spurting really strongly. So you never really want to leave that gap, because you want to hold on to the wash for the ultimately the turn at halfway, because that's when you punch back into it and you don't want to be alone at that point.
It was myself, Ali, Bevy and TJ out in front. We got a few minute gap on the other crew. And I knew coming back the turn, because it's a place where the race sort of slows down, and that coming out of it the pace is going to be on. And so you got to try and position yourself right. I was just trying to make sure I was staying on Ali's hip in case he decided to do a spurt.
Just coming in before the turn, pace backed off. So yeah, definitely got to take a few deep breaths. It was very tough until that point. We were getting stretched by Ali's spurts and stuff. So good to get the breath back and make the turn. And I knew once we made the turn that there weren't the runners there, so the spurting would be less and we'd settle into some wash leads.
Halfway through the 23-kilometre ski leg, a group of 4 lead the way, with Day, Bevilacqua, Hendy and Borg opening a 2-minute gap on the rest of the field.
When we turned to tally, there was still the 4 of us just working together to get back. Obviously, it was pretty hot out there, pretty hard, and you weren't going to get much assistance, obviously, paddling back into the wind. So at that point, it's just, okay, let's get back to Coolangatta.
It's just the 4 of us at the turn, me, Borgie, TJ and Ali. TJ was having a very good ski leg, which was surprising, I'm sure, to most of us, but he was doing well. But yeah, we had 2 minutes on Joe and Taddy.
At the halfway point, they had 2 minutes on us, and that's what we got told by the IOB, and we're trying to catch up, and we got to that turn marker, and Teddy, Jared McDonald, said to me, he's like, look, we're not racing for 5th and 6th. Let's pick this up, let's go for them, let's do some hard leads, and we'll try and catch their wash.
With the men's race heading back to Coolangatta, the women push further north with a group of 4 girls, Hancock, Papak, Rogers and Ruby Meehan, opening a small gap on the rest of the field. The calm, glassy conditions offer little assistance to the girls as they jostle for positions.
Yeah, it was 23 kilometres, so I've never paddled that long before in a race, and to be able to do it against girls that have done this race so many times, it was really just trying to stay as close as I could for as long as I could.
Put myself in a good position. I was just playing kind of wash riding on each paddler in front of me, so yeah, I did it with least amount of energy as possible.
I tried to just maintain a good pace, but I also didn't want to blow out. So I kind of waited for the girls to come up beside me, and we all just sat together and did some wash leads.
Restricted by a painful elbow injury, Carla Papak struggles to stay in touch with the lead group.
Everything just hurt. It hurt to try and stay up with the top girls, and they were doing a few little bursts of speed. So it was really hard to stay on their wash, and I was actually battling quite a lot. So that whole 10K was hell.
So I basically led the whole way down halfway. I was confident in my fitness, and it's good to set a pace to get going. That's the most important thing in this race, is to get a pace going and set it and keep that up.
Frustrated by all the close attention, Day does what he can to break free from the pack.
Yeah, it's definitely a tactic of Ali's over the last few years. Well, every year I've raced him in the gold. He's so strong in the ski, it's incredible. He does like short spurts of about, only 30 seconds to make sure you're uncomfortable, and he does that really well, to his credit.
You want to try and make it as uncomfortable as you can for everyone, because if we all just paddled together and sat there, I believe the only way to race a Coolangatta Gold is to go after it. Don't die wondering. Don't wait to get the tap on the shoulder to start moving. It makes people feel probably pretty annoyed and pretty uncomfortable, but it makes me feel uncomfortable as well. And the longer the race goes, the better it falls in my hands.
He'll go spurt for 2 minutes, take 30 seconds off, spurt again for 2 minutes. Yeah, it's to try and shake us all off. It takes a lot of focus trying to spurt with him. And then when you're mentally, okay, I can rest, I can stop, cruise, and then he does it again. I think he tries to do it to catch a few people off guard.
I'm a competitive person. It's not monotonous for me to come back. I love pushing myself and competing against myself, and I know my body so well now. I know this race so well, and I know what it takes to win.
Oh, it's super competitive out there, yeah. There's no love lost in between the water. We all are friends and all talk to each other outside of racing. But the second that put our caps on, put our togs on, get in the water, if you're in a bit of water that I want to be in, then I'm going to try and push you out of it.
No Coolangatta Gold, particularly the ski leg's easy. You want to keep the tempo upbeat. So, and as I said, paddling back into the wind's pretty challenging too.
It's the ocean, there's a lot of movement, and if something comes, you need to be on the ball and ready. So it's incredibly hard to focus for an hour 50 when your heart rate's at 180 and you're working incredibly hard.
It isn't all about just what training you've done. You got to look around at everyone else, check what their strengths, their weaknesses are. Do I want them near me? Do I not want them near me? Although we are pushing ourselves physically, there's a lot of thinking going between the ears.
I just remember sort of thinking, just hang in there. It's like, I wasn't really ever at the point where I thought I'm really gone here. I sort of knew I had it in me to come back up on them.
I was feeling really good on the ski. I was feeling like the pace might have been a bit too cruisy, but at the same time, didn't want to blow too much. I was taking a few leads and able to dictate the pace that I wanted us to do.
What the lead group doesn't realise is that the chase group, featuring Joe Collins and Taddy McDonnell, back in 5th and 6th, are rapidly closing in.
Definitely closing the gap slowly, about halfway on the way back, and it was a lot of work from me and Taddy, and to then see that gap closing was pretty motivational. And Taddy was definitely a big motivator. I was probably a little bit down on myself at the time, thinking, I ruined the start, I botched it, there's no way I'm in this race. But we kept working together and the pace was up for us, and we ended up catching them near the end.
Halfway through the women's ski leg, and it's still Papak, Hancock, Meehan and Rogers sharing the lead and gradually moving away from the rest of the field.
As soon as you turn that can, it's just try and get the rating up again as quick as possible and get home as quick as you can. And there is a little bit of relief when you turn that can, because you know that you're past halfway, but still a long way to go.
The pace really dropped. The girls kind of dropped the pace, and I actually ended up leading for most of the second half. And I was really in control of the pace, and I just kept it slow because no one really wanted to go too fast. I just brought the pace right down, and I felt good. And I knew that they were probably feeling good too, because the pace was quite slow. And then I thought, all right, I'm just going to keep doing this the whole race.
Despite his best efforts to break from the pack, Ali Day and the lead group are joined by 2 other competitors, much to everyone's surprise.
Yeah, late stages of ski, I got a real shock surprise when Taddy McDonnell and Joe Collins pulled up next to us, and I thought, geez, they've pulled us back. We've either paddled really, really slow. Credit to those boys. What they were able to do, I think we're almost 90 seconds on them. So those late stages of ski, it starts to play in your mind a little bit.
Closing stage of the ski, we just got onto their wash, just about the end of the rock wall, and I kind of got onto the wash and I'm like, yeah, Daddy. And Ali looked back with this look of disgust, like, what the hell? And it was definitely a good feeling, but I definitely knew that we'd worked the hardest and we had a lot of work to do going into this run swim.
It was a bit funny. Two of the other boys came up at the very end and one called out to us. Might have given us a bit of a shock. Weren't really prepared for it. But yeah, I was feeling good. There's always a bit of a relief seeing those last few cans coming back into the ski. Okay, step one down, getting ready for step two. So the last 100 metres of the ski, we got Joe and Taddy catch up to us, which was, you know, it wasn't a great feeling. I thought that 2 minutes was going to hold it halfway. Those two joined us to make a group of 6, and yeah, it's incredibly tight, you know, after 23 Ks of ski to still have 6 guys up there.
McDonald, Borg and Day managed to catch the same wave and are the first onto the beach. With the first leg completed, 6 competitors hit the sand, ready for a 1 kilometre sprint, with everyone keeping Ali Day in check.
Yeah, run went good. Yeah, I just tried to stay really composed, tried to, again, just focus on what I was doing, focus on my breathing, and yeah, just tried to, I guess, get comfortable and start thinking about the swim ahead.
Pretty good at running. I'd assume that's probably my best leg, and I didn't want to push it too hard, but I pushed the pace a little bit. And then I knew as soon as I went around that turning can, and probably not even a metre behind Ali, just like death staring the back of his head, like, I'm not losing those feet, I'm hanging on here. So I was up the front going onto the beach for the 1 kilometre run. I sort of stuffed up my nutrition a bit, got the run done, was able to stay within striking distance of the pack.
Day's used to racing out in front, all on his own, and he isn't enjoying the extra company. Any thoughts of an easy race have quickly vanished.
I mean, that's the first time there were 6 guys jumped in the swim together. I mean, that hasn't happened to me in really ever. So that was pretty foreign to me.
The fast pace is starting to take its toll, with everyone feeling the pinch.
Really struggled to get into my rhythm, you know, spasming all around my shoulders. I couldn't really catch the water. Ali was spurting again, similar to the ski, and it was really hard to stay on the feet.
I got out into the start of the swim and I was right there at the front, and I had a cramp from my hip flexor all the way up to my shoulder, and I just had to swim through that for like a kilometre.
Swim leg is one of my strong legs as well, and I wanted to see what I could do in it. I was a bit behind the pack, and then I managed to swim around in most of them. And then Joe Collins was on Ali's feet.
I had my board handler there giving me encouragement, and I was just kind of touching his feet every 10 or so strokes, making sure he knew that I was there. And he kept on doing faster, slower to make it harder for me to stay on the wash.
Always the competitor, Day's up to his old tricks and puts in a series of sharp bursts to unsettle the pack.
When you're jumping in the swim and people are tapping you on the feet and you're not getting away, you can start to be pretty negative about it.
I ended up staying there, and then he did one spurt, my goggles fogged up a little bit, and I missed the go, and by then it was too late. I couldn't catch him again.
I looked back again and he'd gone, and Jackson Borg had swum up on my feet, and it looked as though we started to create a bit of a gap from the other guys behind us, which is a good thing. And for the life of me, I tried to shake Borgie a couple of times in the swim.
So my game plan was to keep within striking distance of Ali. He likes to twist the dagger a little bit in the swim and try and get a bit of a gap. So I knew to try and stay in touching distance and make sure that he wasn't able to do that.
Despite Day's best endeavours, Borg refuses to yield and doggedly holds on, much to Day's frustration.
What you got to realise is that it's easier to wash ride someone. So Ali's working really hard, probably swimming 110 pace for 100, and then I'm sitting on his feet doing like nothing. And then he knows that I'm doing a lot less work and I'm probably saving my energy, so he wants to drop us so then he can open that lead and then we're not working as easy.
With nothing separating the top 6 place getters, a real battle is developing. In the closing stages of the 23-kilometre ski leg, it's Hancock, Rogers and Papak sharing the lead, opening a gap over Ruby Meehan, now back in 4th.
Realistically, half of your race is done, but also the race just starts after that ski leg. So it's a step done, and you just got to focus on the next step, which was going through that run leg.
I was pretty happy with my position coming off that ski, and there's a lot going on. You've got to get your water pack off, you've got to get your jacket. There's definitely a lot that goes into it. You've got to always wake the legs up a bit. You've been sitting down for 2 hours in your ski, and Got to get that blood moving straight away. Have an amazing team of handlers around me, and they were all there, so it was really nice to have that support from them.
I knew that would be one of the hardest part of my races, especially going into the swim, which is definitely my weakest leg. So I didn't feel amazing, but I also did not know what to expect.
So getting off and trying to get the leg speed up as quick as you can and taking in gels and water, that's a bit of a challenge. But yeah, it wasn't too bad just because we had the hard sand. Luckily it wasn't on soft sand, so that made it a little bit easier.
Thought I would feel better from just going not too hard in that ski. I thought I'd be feeling a lot fresher, but Courtney actually set quite a good pace in that run. So I didn't mind that she kind of set that pace high, but I was kind of like, ooh, I'm hurting here.
Heading straight into the swim's probably my best leg, so I was looking forward to getting in the water because it was pretty hot on the ski and in the run.
Day continues to set the pace in the men's race, leading the way in the swim with Jackson Borg in close pursuit.
Halfway through the swim was great. Ali did drop all of us a little bit, which sort of puts you in a little bit of a panic mode. But I was like, okay, I know I can do this. And so I managed to get back onto his feet, and we had dropped the rest of the guys, which I was really happy with.
When I looked at my handler, Wesberg, he sort of said, you've got 100 metres on the next guys. I just said to myself, okay, well, I don't feel like I'm going to drop Borgie now, but what I can do is work really hard for this back half of the swim and put a gap on the next guys.
Borgie and Ali pulled away. They only had 20 seconds at the halfway mark, and I had to go to work by myself coming back, and they ended up losing it up. I lost a lot more ground on the return journey.
Ali dropped me, and then I kind of hit a wall. Lost a bit of motivation. I'm like, oh God. Everything started feeling heavy, and then Borgie came straight past. He's a gun swimmer, and he jumped straight onto Ali's feet, and then I saw Bevy, and I knew that I had to just come and jump onto his feet, and I just sat there for the rest of the way.
It was an incredibly tough trip back. I think we might have been in a bit of bad current because I saw TJ and Tabby, who we had 40 seconds on at halfway, they caught straight back up. So we jumped back over to them and started wash riding them. But it's just such a weird day of, lots going on for a 4-hour flat water race.
Suffering from cramp, TJ Hendy's progress is temporarily stalled.
I'm a good swimmer when I'm tired, and I'm a bit upset about the cramp in the swim leg. I think that made it hard, and I might have been able to stick in there for a lot longer in that swim.
At the start of the 3.5 kilometre women's swim, it's Carla Papak, Courtney Hancock and Lana Rogers leading the way, with a 40-second gap over Ruby Meehan.
As soon as we jumped into that swim, I got a bit of a stitch on my right side, and the girls weren't going super hard. I was finding it okay to sit on their wash, but I just was really breathing into that stitch, and it took a little while for that to dissipate, but it did. And then the swim was actually quite comfortable from that point on.
Felt pretty good. It was a tough swim this year, just with that sweep again. So it's all just really in this race, just taking it by moments and yeah, trying to create opportunities for yourself.
I felt a little bit more relaxed. I always do when I start that swim leg, and you just have to go through it. It was 50 minutes, and we just had to play watch ride on other competitors that were in that top 3.
I lost it going into the swim, but I was kind of expecting that because the girls are really good swimmers, especially Taylor. She swam past me. I tried to stay in her wash, but she's going way too fast.
It was just getting into a rhythm and trying to close the gap from the other people around me. Couldn't really see anyone, but I had my board paddler guiding me, so that was pretty good. Pretty lonely out there. I mean, you don't really see anyone the whole way, or at least I didn't, so it was just trying to get through it as quick as I could.
In the closing stages of the swim, Ali Day continues to lead, just ahead of Jackson Borg, who's proving a real threat. Showing all his surf experience, Day manages to catch a wave into the beach, opening a small break over Borg.
Yeah, coming out of the swim, we were relatively together. I didn't realise at the time, but I had waited for the wave and jumped onto it, whereas he had gotten up and started waiting. So he put about 11 seconds onto me, which was definitely not part of the game plan, but that's just a bit of his experience as well.
The chase group, consisting of 4 competitors, exit the water, just 2 minutes behind and desperate to catch Day and Borg. And the race is on.
I dug in deep and noticed that I was with this group of 3 other really good lads, and if I wanted to get that top 3 or even 4th, I needed to stick with them in this board.
Frustrated by his inability to control the race, Day finally senses an opening and seizes the moment to sprint away.
You know, you get out of the swim, you go, okay, well, I'm 2 legs down, 2 legs to go, and
they're two of my favourite legs. I love getting on the board. Had a great start, got guided out there really well by my coaches and my team, and just got to work.
Yeah, the start of the board paddle didn't really go to plan. I jumped on the board a little bit behind Ali, wanted to try and catch him a little bit, but then had the roller wave, got absolutely smoked. Lost my drink bottle, which was definitely not part of the plan, but I was trying to keep myself focused.
Now 2.5 hours into the grueling race, and Bevilacqua, back in 5th, starts to feel the effects of a fast race and struggles with debilitating cramp.
Ran around to grab my board, I was cramping everywhere. My forearms were going, my adductors, and then my abdominal muscles were just tearing apart. Like I couldn't even really kneel paddle. So started sipping my drink on the board, and it alleviated pretty quickly, and I could get into my work on the board.
For the first time in the race, Day is exactly where he wants to be, out in front and in control.
Made a decision to get up and start wading, out of the water, and I think it was probably 10, 15, maybe even 20 metres that I had on Jackson. Poor Borgie had to roll, I think, on his board. He was just telling me. So I just tried to, keep the tempo upbeat, get round the first turning boys and work the hell out of the runners.
Despite his best efforts, Borg struggles to stay with Day, and it's a defining moment in the race.
The board leg was a bit tough for me. I was planning to try and be with Ali going into it, and so I had to do it all by myself, and I knew I had two great board paddlers behind me. And so my mindset probably wasn't what it should have been at the time. It was a bit, when are they going to catch me, instead of let's try and hold them off and go for it. But yeah, it was a bit of a struggle.
And I knew that at that point, if I just went hammer and tong from that white can to the turning markers down at Coolangatta, that gap could get, sizingly a little bit bigger.
He just does all the little things right in the race. He doesn't ever look like he's tired, probably half machine. But yeah, that's just credit to him. He knows when to twist the screws.
With Day pulling away from Borg, the chase group headed by Bevilacqua worked together to bridge the gap.
It was good to get in the board, and I felt quite good once I could get some nutrition in and could get to work because we were getting some runs on the way down.
I worked really hard. I was up on my knees, pumping out, 80 to 100 strokes, really trying to work the ocean, keep my chest low. And every time I got down to my stomach, I'd take a drink and just get back up and go again. So I knew it was going to be tougher once we turned on the board, like obviously punching back in the wind, similar to the ski. But I knew that if I could make the most and take the advantage while we had the runners behind us, the wind behind us, that was going to be, it could be a really deciding factor.
The one leg that didn't go to plan was the board leg for me. I just had a few little things go on, and there was a sort of a change in our group in who wanted to do the work and stuff, who wanted to lead and what wash we wanted, and right at the wrong time someone did a spurt and they just got away from me. It was Matt Bevilacqua got away with Taddy McDonald, and right at that time I sort of was in the wrong spot to go with them.
So going into the board leg, I was like in 6th. I'd had just missed a wave in the swim again, so had to make up some ground again going out in the board. And then got some runners and pushed into 4th place with Taddy McDonald, and just caught the runs all the way down basically with Taddy on my wash. So he was able to have a good rest, and we teamed up and used a lot of each other to work back into the wind.
I knew Ali was out of range, so it was more so racing to stay with Bevy and then hopefully leave it up to my run, which is my best leg.
The women's race continues to be a close-fought contest, with nothing separating the front runners Papak, Rogers and Hancock. Despite a disruptive preparation, Hancock's won this race 4 times before, so she knows what it takes.
Swim is incredibly tough today. We had a massive sweep that we swam back into, so I don't know the times, but I'd say the swim was probably one of the longest swims that it has been. I led that whole way and had the 2 girls on my feet, so was really, obviously couldn't break them, really hard to try and get ahead in that. And
we were going through each other's wash, so first back to 2nd, back to 3rd, and then just taking each other leads one step at a time.
I found the pace actually not too bad. Swim, I would say, has been one of my weaker legs in the past, so it was probably the one that I was more worried about. But once I saw that the pace was manageable, I thought, okay, this is doable.
It was pretty challenging. It was definitely the longest swim I've ever done before.
Sensing it's now or never, Taylor Halliday, back in fourth, starts to close the gap.
Well, my board paddler said that I was closing the gap on the girls, which is pretty good to hear. I mean, you can't really hear too much from what they're saying.
Showing all his surf skill pedigree, Day puts in a huge effort on the board and extends his lead to 2 minutes over Jackson Borg.
When I turned, I got a good look at who was sort of behind me and how much I sort of had. So I just, again, like in that board, I was trying to develop and try to work really, really hard to just at least keep that gap the same, if not extend it.
I didn't really get too many runners on the way down that I wanted to because the wind was going, well, the swell was going that way. Then the way back, it was just a grind back into it, which I actually started probably feeling a little bit better on the way back than what I did on the way down.
Yeah, the board leg I definitely found one of the toughest. I was definitely in my head the most, and I knew my shoulders were pretty close to giving out, so I just had to get through it and get into the legs.
Now in a whole world of pain, Borg falls further behind and is now just trying to salvage his race.
So during the board leg, Ali was dropping me a bit. He was twisting my screws and getting slowly further and further ahead of me. And so, mentally it does stuff with you a little bit. It turns into a race from, okay, I've got a chance to win this, to, okay, I'm just trying to hold on for a second here.
Bevilacqua makes a remarkable recovery and is now on the march, looking to hunt down first and second.
I was really happy with my board leg. I think Ali still put 60 seconds in, but we caught a lot up on Jackson Borg. So yeah, that went quite well. The board leg has been my Achilles heel and Gold's gone past. So done a lot more work this year on the board.
Back in fifth position, the young Kiwi Joe Collins begins to struggle.
Going to the back end of the board, I was pretty broken. Me and TJ had been broken by Taddy and Bivy, and we're kind of just trying to keep morale up.
In the closing stages of the women's swim, there's nothing between Lana Rogers, Carla Papak and Courtney Hancock, with the three shadowing one another every step of the way.
Unfortunately, couldn't get a body wave coming in, but felt really good, conserved the right amount of energy and felt strong at this time of the race.
There was little bumps coming through and Courtney was a little bit in front, and I knew that, again, you don't want to give anyone any space because they just run with it and then you're kind of playing catch up. So I was a little bit freaking out as I was swimming because she was a little bit in front.
It's really important to get your nutrition in at that stage of the race. You know, you've just come out of an hour swim and you're obviously feeling a little bit out of it. So really just making sure, getting in your gel and water and you know, whatever you're taking.
With nothing separating the top three and with just 2 legs to go, the women's race is still wide open.
I think after that swim, I started to feel a little bit more, I can do this, because I knew that swim leg was going to probably be the toughest one. I wasn't trying to think about top 3. I was just thinking, no, like, if you're in top 3, then you can win. You've got an opportunity. Your plan was to be in the fight and you're here, and your plan has basically gone exactly to plan.
A swell going out there, which was a bit of fun, you know, to get out there and have a bit of a change up. But again, just like trying to conserve energy in your legs, especially knowing that you're going to have a 9-kilometre run when you finish the board.
And again, the pace just wasn't super high. I actually led the whole board leg and kept the pace low, got up on my knees a few times. My tactic was to kind of exhaust their legs a little bit because I knew the run was coming up.
Desperate to secure a podium finish, Taylor Halliday in 4th does what she can to close the gap.
Just trying to get through the shorey of that board paddle and then getting around the can and then trying to catch the runs and use the wind and swell as best I could.
3.5 hours into the epic race, and Ali Day finishes the board leg in emphatic style, catching a wave all the way into the beach to further extend his lead with just 1 leg to go.
I am feeling good after I got off the board. I cracked a great wave around the can, brought that in. Showing off the crowd, I was like, please give me a wave, please give me a wave. So I got a wave, worked really hard to get that actually, and something I've worked really hard, that swim board combo, because it does feel pretty strange going from one discipline to the other.
Despite losing ground on the board, Borg hasn't given up just yet and is desperate to run down Day, who now has a commanding 3-minute lead.
Got a nice wave from the can going on the board, which is what I was hoping for. So that was nice. And then jumping off the board onto the run, my legs, I felt instantly that they weren't exactly where they needed to be. Was just hoping that I'd be able to hold off the other guys, but you go give it a crack, and I just tried to hold on for the run.
Following a strong board leg, a rejuvenated Matt Bevilacqua closes the gap on Borg and exits the beach in hot pursuit of the leaders.
We gained a lot back on Borgie. He missed another wave in the board, so had to catch back up to Borgie on that. But yeah, it felt really good jumping off the board. We'd done really efficient work and was ready to get in the run leg.
Despite exiting the board in 5th position, Joe Collins is recognised as the strongest runner in the men's field, and his race is far from over.
We kind of rounded the can, got onto a wave, got to the beach, and I knew I had a lot of work to do in that run.
Despite her best endeavours, Courtney Hancock fails to break free on the board, with the 3 frontrunners, Rogers, Papak and Hancock, continuing to jostle for the lead, setting the race up for an exciting finish.
It is really hard in that area of the race to break anyone in the board. Board's quite easy to wash off someone, so that was a spot where we all stayed together again.
I think I'm an okay board paddler. I just wanted to get through that as fresh as possible leading into that run leg, and I managed to do that. We were kind of playing a wash lead with the other 2 competitors.
Confident in her running ability, Carla Papak is happy to keep the pace off and to share the lead, backing herself to bring the race home in the final run leg.
In my head, I thought, well, no one's really keen to up this pace, so let's just keep it light. I'm going to lay on my tummy for most of this to keep my legs nice and fresh from the run, and I think this is going to turn into a run finish because it really doesn't seem like anyone wants to go for it right now.
Day starts the run leg in the all too familiar position of first, but unlike previous years, he has plenty of threats coming his way. With only a 3-minute cushion and stronger runners behind him, Day knows his race is far from over.
When I got out of the board, the guy said to me, like, you got a bit of a buffer, don't go hell for leather right now, just build into it. So I built into it.
Bevilacqua was a strong runner and sets off in quick time, knowing Borg and Day are still within reach.
By the time you get off on the board, your whole upper body is done. So you really finish it off on the board, and the legs still have a bit of work, but like I said, we're kneeling on the board, punching into it, putting some speed in. So my adductors were really starting to cramp. The cramping was a nightmare today, and I was a bit worried going into the run. I didn't know how that cramping was going to go, but managed to start getting to some 4:15 kilometres in that really soft sand barefoot. So felt good and got into the work on the run.
You're pumped at that stage because there's still a lot of hard work to go, but I know there's 1 leg to go, and I knew that at that stage, I got down the bottom of the stairs at Kira there, and the guy said, you got a couple of minutes. And I just knew at that point, it was like, okay, get 4K up and then get back.
Bevilacqua rapidly closes in on Borg and is buoyed by the news that he's already made up a minute on Day.
I was 30 seconds back on Borgie and caught him pretty quickly, and the 4:15 pace felt good. I didn't know, I knew Ali had 3 minutes, but I didn't know what pacing he was doing early. I just thought I'd stay within myself and do the pace that I could maintain. And then it started to trickle in that I was catching him, and I was already giving the most I could, so I was holding off those cramps. I was really dancing on the line of fully cramping and not stopping.
This race can make or break the best of them, with Borg now struggling and with nothing more to give.
Bevy had overtaken me pretty early in the run. There's a bit of a crappy feeling knowing, okay, the race is out of my reach. I'm just trying to hit a podium here. But especially with the run leg in this race, it's not too much who can run the quickest, it's who's feeling the best and who can grind it out.
Joe Collins has the fastest run leg, and with nothing to lose, he exits the board in 5th position and sprints into action, desperate for a podium finish.
Getting off the board, going into the run, it's a great feeling every time I've done this race, and I kind of get a little bit excited. Everyone kind of cheering me on. I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. And I kind of jump on and started moving straight away and dropped TJ pretty quick. And as I was coming over the concrete and looking down the stairs onto the beach, I could see where everyone was, and I knew I had some work to catch Borgie and Taddy, but I knew I was up for the challenge, and I went for it.
The soft sand at the very start of the run sort of was a bit of an adjustment, just like that hurt, and I've had some bone bruising in my knee for like a couple of weeks leading into this, so I haven't been able to like sort of carry my momentum that I've been like the way I've been running. When I got onto the concrete, just in the first little patch of the run, I could feel my knee blow out, and unfortunately, like I didn't have it in me to really like push much harder at that point.
Bevilacqua puts in an incredible run, and after passing Borg is now gunning for Day, with the margin now less than 2 minutes and closing.
Obviously, you never count your chickens before they hatch. I knew Bevy and the other guys were coming pretty fast, so I just tried to try to keep the momentum going and keep the turnover going. Particularly, obviously, running on that soft sand with the water, lapping up on our ankles, it makes the run pretty difficult.
I knew I was getting almost 60 seconds in that first half of the run, but you're in. I can't explain how much pain you're in and how far 2 minutes feels or 60 seconds feels. I could see him by the time I did the turn, but cramping was very, very close to being fully debilitating. So I was just trying to put as much pace in that I could without basically stopping completely.
Collins is also on the charge and continues to close the gap on the 4 runners ahead.
It's a bit daunting, that sand is very soft, and the year before my calves blew out and I was kind of just battling to finish in 5th. Seeing those boys, I knew I had to almost hold off my pace and just realise, yep, I'm running faster than I will catch them, and not get too eager too early and blow my calves out. So it was really a maintenance game on that whole run.
After almost 4 hours of exhausting racing and in the sprint to the finish, everyone is feeling the pain.
Yeah, it was incredibly tough. It was a weird one. Like, my aerobic capacity was fine, the breathing, heart rate was down, but it was just the muscular. It's so incredibly hard to run on that 45-degree angle. Your feet are going in about, 10, 15 centimeters each step. And it's just really uneven and horrible when your body's already in a lot of distress. So
it's definitely a make or break situation, that run, and keeping those calves in good nick, and with that soft sand, it's pretty brutal. And I knew I had it, but I just had to push through it for that 30 minutes.
Just like the men's, the women's race is proving equally tight, with nothing separating the top 3 as they reach the closing stages of the 6-kilometre board paddle.
So I was hoping to maybe turn the can in front and maybe get a wave out in front, which would give me a buffer time to just put my shoes on. But Corny ended up actually coming beside me just before we turned the can, and then we all caught a wave again together.
I just wanted to get through that board leg feeling hydrated and ready to go into that run leg, and I did that.
To the run, it was really challenging. It was kind of like a decision whether you wear shoes or not shoes.
Using her wealth of race experience, Hancock takes advantage of Papak's shoe stop to make a small surge.
She kept running and I kind of put my shoes on. I think it was a quick transition, but it still probably takes 30 seconds, 20, I'm not too sure. But I think the advantage was that I was able to do that run along the pavement with shoes on, and because my legs were still fresh, I kind of just gunned it, which is where you can kind of run fast because you're not on soft sand, and I caught her straight away. So I think that advantage of putting the shoes on and wasting a bit of time was, I was able to make it up pretty quickly.
With Papak and Hancock battling out in front, Lana Rogers falls further behind in 3rd.
Connie and I kind of took off a little bit. I thought, okay, I think Lana might be out of this. And she was. She didn't really recover after that. And then we were into the run leg.
Being high tide this year is very hard, so it made for a very tough run, and there wasn't pretty much no hard sand out there. And
incredibly, after over 4 hours of racing and with just the final run home, nothing separates first and second, with the race set for a thrilling finish.
I got a little bit in front of Courtney just through that soft sand run. I actually I was feeling quite good. So I kind of just sat just a little bit higher up than her on the sand. She was running in the water just because it was a little bit harder, but because I had my shoes on, I ran a little bit higher up, but I think it was a good spot to be running with the shoes on. Probably barefoot, better to be down on the water's edge. So we were kind of like a little bit spaced apart, but I kept her there the whole time. And I was also talking to myself quite a bit, just like, you got this, you wanted this to come down to the run leg. That was the plan. So everything is going to plan right now. You can do this.
Back in 4th and out of the placings, Halliday is just content to consolidate her position.
my handlers had spoken to me and told me that there was a pretty big gap between the people in front of me and pretty big gap between the people behind me. So obviously I was going to run as hard as I could, but I knew that that it was going to be a big challenge to try and close that gap, and that it would be pretty hard for the person behind me to catch me. So I was just trying to stay consistent and finish the race as best I could.
With just 2 kilometres to the finish, Day starts to feel the pressure, knowing that both Bevilacqua and the young Kiwi Collins are rapidly closing in.
See, once you turn up at Bolinga and I ran past Bevy, I ran past Jackson, you run past everyone, don't you? So you know how much you had. I had a couple of looks, you know, once I got, you know, a K, 1,500 metres away from the finish, but I just put my head down. I didn't look up at all and just tried to really, you know, almost run, you know, a minute hard, minute easy sort of thing, but just tried to keep it really controlled. And
closing stages, I was 60 seconds down, and I knew I'd gained 2 minutes over the total, but I had my watch going and I was doing 4:15s and I just couldn't go any faster. So incredibly painful to have been so close, but you know, I was happy to put on a race and be the closest anyone has.
Started closing the gap on Teddy, and I noticed that, and I was probably about maybe 200 metres off him. And then we got to that turning marker, I just passed him, and Borgie was the next one, about another 300 up, and I got him about halfway back, and it was probably one of the best feelings of the race. Just kind of gliding past him. I noticed I was probably treading a lot lighter, bit of a smaller human, and I knew that I had to hold that pace on, otherwise he'd see the weakness in me.
I knew Joe Collins was right behind me. He's a light, nimble, quick one on his feet, and so I was trying to hold him off. He gave me a damn ass slap on the way through, which definitely is a bit demoralising.
I wouldn't really say happy with catching up, but I was definitely in the hurt locker, and I'm like, oh God, now I've got to work a lot harder to actually try and get a placing in this. This is brutal.
You start to be able to see the finish line, and you know, I saw my daughter halfway along, and that made me a bit emotional, because it's just like you're at that place where you start to, you know, take everything in and realise sort of why you do things, and you know, she's a big reason and why I want to be fit and healthy and the guy that I am. So
Collins puts in an incredible run, moving from 5th to 3rd and into medal contention.
Ali was probably 5 minutes ahead of me going into that run, and I knew I was a good runner. I'm definitely not that good, and as soon as I passed Borgie, I knew Bevy was out of range. He was about half a kilometre in front, and I knew I just had to kind of keep my feet moving but not go too fast to blow them up.
Closing stages of the run, I knew that I was going to be able to hold my position. I just wanted to keep the legs turning, ticking over, and those stairs really do suck a band. Maybe we need to build a ramp or an escalator or something there.
Despite brave efforts from Bevilacqua and Collins, it's not enough, with Ali Day managing to hold on, taking the Coolangatta title for a record 8th time. Despite any number of challenges, in the end, Day proves too strong and is a deserved winner, proving yet again that he is the undisputed king.
Today I'll remember for a really long time, because it was, I got pushed, you know, from start to finish. And again, I was really proud in the fact that I stayed calm and really executed my race plan.
It's just relief right now. Hey, like I had to go pretty deep then into the well in the last run leg. So yeah, had just so much help and support the whole day today and in the lead up. So the guys behind me, you're seeing they're getting closer and closer. They're figuring it out, and that's great. This race has sort of changed my life. So yeah, it means a lot to me today. And as I said, I'm extremely grateful for the people I have around me in my corner.
Very special, you know, like my wife and my son are there, you know what I mean? And they've been through like the highs and the lows. They've been here for every Coolangatta Gold that I've done. So it's them, it's my mates, it's my coaches and my handlers. It's just extremely special. They're the moments you want to bottle up, and they're the moments I'll miss, you know, when I retire in a few years.
In a superhuman effort, Matt Bevilacqua manages to claw back over 2 minutes from Day, finishing in 2nd, just a minute behind.
Crossing that Coolangatta gold line, I think anyone will attest, it's just the best feeling. Like, people can be 3-4 minutes behind you and you're still worried, you know, so I knew I'd, you know, lost by 60 seconds or whatever it was, and still a little bit disappointed, but so good to finish that. Yeah, I could see him, you know, I was just getting the numbers, I knew I was close, but yeah, he's just too strong even when he's a little bit injured, so Yeah, I needed to be a bit closer. I'm a little bit disappointed with the swim. It was just a little bit too slow. This is the closest anyone's been to Ali, so I'll take that. You know, he's just the greatest we've seen in this event. So yeah, he was very strong out there today in all legs. I kind of said before the race that if you beat him at this race, you know, you've beaten the best ever. So I've been the closest ever, so I'm pretty happy with that. Like I said, it was still a really tough day. I just made a lot of mistakes nutrition-wise and a lot to improve. So yeah, he's definitely beatable. Yeah, that's the race, and yeah, I'm happy with the result.
After a brilliant run, Joe Collins finishes in a very respectable third place.
Crossing that line in third place was pretty awesome. Coming up through the chute, everyone was there to give me high fives and slapping everyone up and loving life. Came up that finish line and crossed third. It was probably a sign of relief. Felt awesome afterwards and kind of just sat down and could pass out after then. Knowing that I'm now one of the only 3 Kiwis to make that podium in the Coolangatta Gold is a pretty special feeling.
Now in the closing stages of the women's race, and still nothing separates Hancock and Papak, who have shadowed one another from start to finish.
As soon as we turned the 4K marker, which could not have come soon enough, I started to up the ante a little bit, just a smidge, because I was hurting at that point. I definitely was. Upped it up, and she stayed. She did a really good job. She was right there. I never really got too much of a gap on her, but you know, I just kept my legs moving, and eventually the gap got bigger and bigger. Never to the point where I felt like I could relax or I felt like I had it, which was torturous.
With the finish line in sight, Papak finally makes her move and inches ahead.
Carla and I were neck and neck pretty much the whole way until the last 2K. She got a bit of a gap, like only about 10 metres, and she just kind of extended that to, I guess, another 40 metres. And at that time, I couldn't quite go with her.
With Papak and Hancock battling it out for the lead, Lana Rogers loses ground in third spot.
I just needed to keep running and made sure I didn't stop running. And then obviously I think I created that gap, and that gap got larger with the first and second place. So I was just trying to finish the race in that position.
Hancock is a champion of the sport, and she's known for her fighting spirit. But she's now resigned to the fact that her race is over and that she'd have to settle for second.
It kind of stayed like that the whole way, and unfortunately I couldn't lift to that next pace to catch her, and that was where the race kind of I fell to second.
So I knew that anything could happen, and I wasn't going to let myself, have that moment yet, because my legs were dying and I just needed to get to that line.
Having seen off the Hancock Challenge, Carla Papak is a relieved winner, taking the Shaw & Partners Coolangatta Gold crown in emphatic style. And it's a special moment to savour.
I saw the tape and thought, I don't even have enough energy to claim this. You've won, just hold that banner above your head. And yeah, got to claim it.
Feels really good, a little bit of a relief because I wanted it so bad, and a little bit of like a, holy crap, I just did that. Always wanted to win this race. Yeah, I'm just so stoked and it means so much.
I was hoping that the race would come down to a run. That was kind of like an ideal situation. And as soon as Courtney and I kind of hit that sand together, I thought, I can do this. I think I can get her in this run. I was surprised at how well she hung on, not gonna lie. I was hoping she wouldn't be that fast, but obviously, she's an amazing athlete. She's won the gold how many times?
Despite tremendous pain, Hancock never gives up and finishes the race only 36 seconds behind Papak.
Yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed, but it really comes down to the day, how you're feeling, and the preparation that you've done, and it's also, yeah, it's tactical out there to get your mindset ready going into this. It's really tough, but yeah, I'm really proud of myself. I get in there and go, and we crown a new winner today, which is incredible, and it's so great to just see the girls' competition getting better and better.
I really, really wanted to win today, absolutely, and get my 5th title, but that's part of sport, and as an athlete, and you go through these challenges where you have a race that it doesn't work out for you, and I think that's why when you do have those wins, they are so special, and you do really have to make the most of those precious moments. But at the end of the day, like, I gave it my all out there, and I think in myself as a person, that's all I can ask, and so I have to be proud of myself.
Once again, the Shaw and Partners Coolangatta Gold has lived up to all expectations, showing why it's such an iconic, celebrated race, featuring world-class athletes taking on the elements and each other in a classic ocean encounter, and all staged on the doorstep of Queensland's magnificent Gold Coast.
You know, when I first started this sport, I did the Coolangatta Gold back when I was in the under-19s and got 5th and vowed to myself I'd never do the race, ever. So to sit here now and to have won it, you know, obviously a few times now, it's very special. It'll probably never sink in until I retire. And if you had told me I'd win again today and it'd be my 8th time, like it's just crazy.
Ali's still the king. He's, what, 8 now? He's something special, and hopefully next year I'll be able to give him a good crack.
You know, have a good rivalry there, and I think we respect each other. And yeah, it's just not a whole lot to be said. We just race with our actions. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's been a pleasure to race him, and the challenge is still on.
Deservingly the king, mate. He does it, like the way he goes about things is just clinical and methodical, and he's very humble in the way even he looks after me and the boys at the surf club and brings us under his wing. And
I know that I've got a lot more time in the sport, and those two in front of me are both over 30, so hopefully they start slowing down or I speed up, or they retire sooner rather than later.
And it's always been, I guess, a goal of mine to win this race since the first year that I did it. Well, I thought I can win this. I know it will take some time and effort, but I can, and here we are.
It's my favourite race on the calendar. I absolutely love it. It's helped me grow as, you know, not only an athlete but a person as well, and you really have to define all odds and really pull into that inner strength inside to really get over the line. And unfortunately I couldn't quite get there today, but I guess I feel really blessed that I was able to be there for another battle, for another year, and yeah, it definitely doesn't get easier. There's so many girls coming through, and
this race is absolutely the toughest thing I've ever done. Not just the race, but the training for it is something else.
It's a brutal race, and it's one of the hardest of any sports. I imagine you're battling not just the ocean, but other competitors and fatigue the whole time, and it's iconic just being along the strip of the Gold Coast and showing off the awesome beaches and the lifestyle we have here.
The hardest race surf lifesaving has to offer. It's 42 kilometres, 4.5 hours of absolute torture that you put yourselves through, but I love it, and for me it's become addictive. I've done about 5 of them now, and yeah, looking forward to next year's.
I think that's the most exciting men's race we've probably ever seen. So places were never sorted until the fat lady sang at the end. So yeah, I was really happy to put that on and, you know, show the sport for what it is. It's just so exciting, and anything goes. And now I've got 4 podiums and a win in the Coolangatta Gold, and I'm very happy.
To succeed in this race, commitment, determination, consistency, a really strong team around you, and you've got to want it, you know what I mean? You've got to make those extra sacrifices.
Love the race. I love the location, the scenery, the little mind games you play during the race, the grind, and the feeling afterwards you get. Even though the race didn't turn out the way that I wanted to, I still feel so accomplished.
It's a beautiful place to come and spend time with family and friends, and you know, the beaches here are just absolutely amazing and something else, and it's so special that we get to race up and down the coastline here on the Gold Coast.
It's a good vibe down here, it always is, and like I said, it's the most prestigious race surf lifesaving has to offer, and that's why I love coming down here every year.
I think the fact that it's just so challenging, like to finish it is amazing itself. So it's a goal that I really wanted to achieve.
It's super tough. I think it's just because it's so long. It doesn't really end, and you go through so many highs and lows.
I think if you want to challenge yourself and try and find something else in you, just see how far you can push yourself. That's probably the reason that I wanted to do it.
Part of my job to inspire those young kids coming through, inspire the nippers that were there today to be like, I want to do the gold, because I was exactly like that when I was that age. It's not even about a number for me. It's about the things you learn along the way. It's the journey for me, the perspective I got, and it's, again, I come back to the fact that I'm just really proud of how I handled moments like that today.